What's going on, guys? B. Scott here with you on today's show. We got your tight end sit starts heading in to week number 13, just a couple weeks away from the playoffs. We got to get these W's, plain and simple. So it's the tight end video. I go through a lot of tight ends, tell you ones I like to start, ones I like to sit, and then some stream options for this week. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through the tight end sit starts heading into week number 13. The tight end position. It's always a fun one to talk about because you never know on any given week what's going to happen. So the way I like to do this, I like to roll through your must-start tight ends. I usually get my top 10. And then I give a couple streaming options, some deeper guys that I think have potential for good days, and then a couple sits, guys in tough matchups and stuff like that. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment. If there's a tight end you want to hear more about or one I didn't really talk about or mention enough on, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice. Start, sit, flex, whatever. Even if you wanted to flex two tight ends, I'll give you any information. Drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer your questions. So let's start at the top with the must-start tight ends. I start with the good ones, then get up into the middle ones, and then there's some obvious stream options. So first off, Travis Kelce, you're never sitting him. He's facing the Denver Broncos. Tough matchup. A lot of the top tight ends this week have some pretty tough matchups against top 10 defenses against tight ends, but you're not sitting studs. So Travis Kelce versus the Denver Broncos, fire him up. Mark Andrews at the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the only bright spots for the Baltimore Ravens. On top of that, he's just continually productive. Number 2 tight end in the league, so you're starting him. Dalton Schultz at the New Orleans Saints. Kind of a tough spot here. New Orleans Saints have been pretty tough to the tight ends on the season, but last week you saw what Dawson Knox did to him. And Dalton Schultz, you've seen it. He had a great day against the Las Vegas Raiders. And on top of that, it's looking like Amari Cooper's going to miss the Thursday game. CeeDee Lamb should be back, but I think Dalton Schultz still is going to be a shoo-in for, 6 to 8 targets there, and he's always a red zone threat. So Dalton Schultz, I would be starting him. Dawson Knox versus the New England Patriots. New England historically has played very well against the tight end position, but Dawson Knox has played so well, especially since returning from injury, that you got to be starting him. So I would be firing him here too. Kyle Pitts versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's a good spot here for Kyle Pitts to have a bounce back day. Their bottom 10, Tampa Bay is against the tight end position, and the shootout potential. The Atlanta Falcons, you've seen it the first matchup. I want to say that game was like 45-28 or something like that. Matt Ryan had over 300 yards. So I think just the potential of what Kyle Pitts can do this week, I like him. You got to be starting him here. Pat Freiermuth, he's dealing with a concussion. If he's available to go, it's the best spot. The Baltimore Ravens, 4th most fantasy points to tight end position, and Freiermuth's just been catching touchdowns and awesome, and especially now with Ebron, on IR. So Pat Freiermuth, if he's healthy and good to go, you're firing him as a top 10 tight end. George Kittle at the Seattle Seahawks, a must-start smash spot here, considering Deebo Samuel already ruled out for the game more than likely, and on top of that, George Kittle coming off a quiet day against the Minnesota defense in which they just didn't throw the ball, San Francisco, at all. I'm going to say Kittle had 2 targets. I think he bounces back this week in a big way, so I like Kittle. You're going to be starting him. And then Rob Gronkowski at the Atlanta Falcons. 18 targets over his last 2 games, pretty much since returning from injury, dealing with the first game back, but 18 targets. You're going to be starting that all day long. Gronk's been great. Honestly, a top 5 tight end. If he's been healthy all year, he would be a top 5 tight end. So Gronkowski, feel free to fire him up. No problems there. Zach Ertz at the Chicago Bears. Now, Chicago Bears have been pretty tough to the tight end position, but over the last 3 weeks, 12-plus PPR points to the tight end, 3 straight. So I like Zach Ertz here. 3 touchdowns allowed over the last 3 games also, the Chicago Bears to the tight end position. Zach Ertz coming off a great day, obviously with Colt McCoy, 9 targets, 8 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, an elite day. And now, hopefully, Kyler Murray's back. We don't know if DeAndre Hopkins will be ready to go. If he is, that's going to just bolster well for that entire offense. And I like Zach Ertz here, so I'd be starting him. And then on my 10 spot, I like Logan Thomas this week. First game back yesterday. You saw it. 6 targets, 3 catches, 31 yards. Honestly, had a touchdown. Questionable whether it was a touchdown or not. It was close, but it got overruled, so just missed the touchdown there. Now he's on the road against Las Vegas Raiders. 3rd most fantasy points to tight end position. So Logan Thomas, smash spot. Should bounce back in a big way next week for sure. And then I got a few guys that I'm just outside my top 10, which they're obviously top 10 point scoring tight ends, studs, but I don't know with the matchups. So first off, I'm going to talk about TJ Hawkinson. Facing the Minnesota Vikings, it's a tough spot. I want to say they held him to under 30 yards the first outing. And Hawkinson, always potential for 10 targets. 8 to 10 targets is something in the wheelhouse for Hawkinson, so it's hard to sit that at the tight end position. But it is a very tough matchup. Minnesota is very good against tight ends. and is bottom 3 in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. So I don't know if I love Hockenson this week. If you got better options, I'd be looking elsewhere. If you have any of these guys that I've said above TJ Hockenson, you picked up Freiermuth and he's healthy to go, I'd start him. If you got Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, I'd start these guys over Hockenson all day long. So Mike Gesicki, he's at the New York Giants, really cooled off as of late. It's not a bad spot, but it's not a great one. I don't really know what to do with his production. He's been good on the season so far, but his targets have slowly declined over the last few weeks, so I'm not sure if you want to roll him out there. I understand. And then Dallas Goedert. His production, the Philadelphia Eagles just haven't been throwing the football a lot. I mean, he did get the red zone target, I want to say 2 weeks ago, but coming off a down game, and it's a great matchup, the New York Jets. But really, I think the Eagles want to pound the football as it is. They've been doing it over the last 3-4 weeks, and this is a smash spot. The New York Jets give up the most fantasy points to the running back position. So I don't know if I love Goddard's outlook, considering it could be low volume here. 3 to 4 targets. You hope he finds the end zone. So if you want to start him, I understand. It's a good matchup. New York Jets aren't very good against the tight end position either, but I just think they're going to be able to run the football. So Dallas Goedert, he's right in that middle ground for me. So on to a couple guys that I like as sits. Just based on their production, really. Noah Fant at the Kansas City Chiefs. There's just too much spreading the ball around for the Denver Broncos for me to love him in a matchup. I mean, Kansas City, it's a decent matchup, but can you trust Noah Fant? 4 targets, I want to say. I think he led the team with 4 targets. I mean, that's not pretty. You got 5 other receivers that averaged 3 targets, and they ran the ball on Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers, which they're susceptible to the run. But this week they got the Chiefs. Is a good spot. But is Teddy Bridgewater going to be healthy enough to play? If not, and Drew Lock's under center, I just don't know if I love the outlook of Noah Fant, because they have 3 tight ends. The third tight end caught a touchdown. They still got Alberto, so I don't love Noah Fant. Obviously, if you got him and you got to be firing him up here, it's not a bad start, but I'd potentially be sitting him just because I just don't love the team aspects right now, and they're not throwing the football very well. So another guy that I'm going to be sitting this week, it's going to be Hunter Henry. Now, he's been very touchdown dependent, and yes, he has potential for 2 touchdowns in the game. That's where you hope he gets his money, because honestly, he catches a touchdown and he averages under 30 yards realistically on the season, but he's playing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. 7th fewest fantasy points. Like I mentioned, Hunter Henry has not cleared 40 yards receiving since week number 5. Has only cleared 50 yards one time on the season. I want to say 75 yards, but he's getting the touchdowns. So I don't love the outlook here. Back-to-back games without a touchdown, and you see what happens without touchdowns. 2 to 3 targets. You're looking at 2 catches, 15, 20, 25 yards. That's really the floor of Hunter Henry, which is not good. So I would take my chances with a couple of these other guys that I have as stream options heading into week number 13. So let's get to some stream options. Guys that I love this week. First off is Jack Doyle. Now he's had 3 straight games with 5+ targets. He's playing at the Houston Texans, give up the 6th most fantasy points to the tight end position. And yes, my only worry is that, obviously Jonathan Taylor can just carry the ball 30 times. They destroy the Houston Texans, and Jack Doyle sees 2 to 3 targets just because they're getting destroyed. But I like the outlook for Jack Doyle here, potential touchdown. And he's played pretty well, especially as of late. And he's been hit or miss at the tight end position now for the last couple of years. He hasn't really put together consistency. But if you got to take a chance, I like Jack Doyle's outlook this week. Another stream option, probably my top stream option, is Foster Moreau. Now, Darren Waller, more than likely going to miss the game. He's already listed as doubtful. If he were to miss the one game in which Darren Waller missed, Foster Moreau, 6 targets, 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. And on top of that, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They love to throw the football at the tight end position. I mean, that's how their offense runs. And Foster Moreau's a pretty talented guy. He's just a little bigger. He's a better run blocker. But he's still productive, especially in the receiving game, and he's good in the red zone. And they got the Washington football team coming to town. That secondary doesn't necessarily scare me anyway. So I would probably be firing Foster Moreau here in a must-start spot, potential top 10 tight end. And my last stream option, a little bit deeper, is James O'Shaughnessy. So he's obviously on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're at the Los Angeles Rams. That defense has not really played great as of late. They're bottom 10 to the tight end position. And before the bye week, before they played the Green Bay Packers, they allowed a touchdown in 3 straight games. So 2 of the tight end position. So with James O'Shaughnessy, I think he has potential for 6 to 8 targets here. And honestly, last week you saw it, 5 targets, 3 catches, 29 yards, had the 2-point conversion. That helps his fantasy numbers. And Dan Arnold was placed on IR. So the first game of the season we seen O'Shaughnessy, I want to say he had 8 targets. I think he could see something in that wheelhouse. I really think the Jacksonville Jaguars probably going to be down in this game more than likely. So I like his outlook to see some production here on the lower end of value. And if he gets a touchdown, that's going to really boost his value. So that's it. That's my tight end sit starts heading in to week number 13. So you have any questions at all about any of these tight ends or a tight end that I didn't mention, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice and my opinion on start, sit, flex, start this guy over that guy. Whatever questions you want to ask, drop in the comment section. And while you're there, don't forget to like the video and then subscribe and share and thumb and bell, all that good stuff for all your fantasy information all the way up to the championship. I'll have all your starts. We got matchup videos. We got all kinds of stuff coming out. So once again, for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.